Okay, Joe. I'm Jo Reingold, and today is June 12th, 2020, and I'm interviewing Joe Schackman. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about your family tree. Where were your grandparents from, your parents, if you know, however much you know about them, where they lived, how they grew up, and what kind of work they did for a living.
Well, the my uh, they one side of the family uh, came to Dallas before 1900, and they had it was my great grandmother I knew, and she lived on even to after I was married. They on my mother on my uh, uh, father's side, the his mother, they had I Friedman uh, Produce Company down on the market, and on the other side, the Schackman side, he was a carpenter, and he had a company that made window screens. And both my parents were born in Dallas in 1919, and on my mother's side, the Coleman side, they had a store in Ferris with his partner, who was Red Coleman's father. And then he went on to have a trucking company, and he passed away at a young age. And I knew my grandmother. My parents, my mother didn't work. My father worked 48 years for Zales.
Wow. Do you know how your family originally came to Dallas, or why they picked Dallas?
No.
Okay.
They uh, my I don't know why they actually came to Dallas unless there were other relatives of theirs here. But
Okay.
like I say, the Friedmans and the Shackmans, they were here before 1900. The others came around 1914.
Right. Where did you grow up as a child? What neighborhood did you live in, and what did you like to do for fun when you were young?
When I had kind of a different experience than most of the Jewish kids here or people. My grandparents bought a house on Lakehurst in Preston Hollow, and my parents lived with them uh, until I was 4 or 5 years old. And then they bought a house. My father bought a house on Stephanie, and we moved there. So I never lived in South Dallas. Of course, we had many relatives there, but I happened to have never lived in South Dallas. Uh, I started first grade at Preston Hollow Elementary and went all the way through Hillcrest. And as kids, we just we had a good time. We played and did sport. I did played football and did sports, and just what usual kids did back then. They played with other kids in the neighborhood.
What kind of Jewish affiliations did your family have when you were young?
We went to I went. My father, I mean, it was like Rabbi Abramowitz at Agudasakim was like a mentor to him, and he was close to him. So occasionally we would go to Agudasakim, and they were members there, but also members at Shereth Israel. and I went to, Sunday school and Hebrew school. And back then, of course, they had United Hebrew schools. And it was great because you met kids from all different parts of town and congregations and everything like that. So that worked out great.
Which campus was it for Sheriff Israel at that time? Were they in this?
Well, it was originally, down by City Park, Sheriff Israel. My claim to fame is I had the last bar mitzvah in the old shul before, Douglas Boulevard.
Okay. Were your parents involved, or were you involved in any civic community activities in those days?
Yes, my mother and father were very, very involved in all sorts of Jewish activities. They were, on the board of Sheriff Israel. My father and my mother was a president of United Hebrew Schools, and they were very active in the Jewish community in all parts of it.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what you did after high school, after Hillcrest.
After Hillcrest, I went to the University of Texas, and then I transferred to Arlington, what was then Arlington State University, and then I, started my working life.
What was your working life, and what are you very proud of that you worked on?
Well, I worked. I had several jobs. I worked for Zales, and then I was a stockbroker for several years, and then I went to work for a scrap metal company, and then I went to work for another scrap company and another one, and I was like in the scrap business for 30 years.
Wow. Okay. Is there any particular project that you're really proud of that you've done?
Project. I try to. We have a lot of friends here, and I've worked. We try to volunteer at many at different places. There was not one particular project that I did. I just like different places where you can interact with people.
Okay. So now we're going to ask about, how did you meet your wife, and where and when were you married, and where did you guys live in the early days?
Okay, I met her on a blind date. We had an apartment on Spring Valley Road, and then I left to go in the Army. When I came back, we moved to the other side of Spring Valley Road, and then we have our first child. Then we bought a house that I'm talking to you from today, and that was 50 years ago. So we've been living in this house for 50 years.
Wow. Okay. What contacts have you stayed with in the Jewish community throughout all these years?
Well, that's considering myself very lucky. I'm have lifelong friends that I was in Sheriff Israel confirmation and Sheriff Israel religious school, and in AZA, which was a very important part of my life. And to this day, I'm friends and with people from that area. We see each other, and we actually AZA, we have a reunion where guys come from all over the United States to about once a year to get together and just know a lot. I'm very lucky to know a lot of people here in Dallas, and that I've been friends with for many, many years.
That's wonderful. Do you have any grandchildren? And if so, where are they?
Yes, I have one a granddaughter who is at the University of Kansas, and she's coming back here now. And then I have her brother, grandson he just graduated high school, of all places, Texas Motor Speedway, and he's in the will be in the engineering department of the University of Texas. And then my other son has two children, and both of them go to Green Hill. And my daughter is married just recently, and with her husband, and they don't have any children.
Okay. Are they all in this area? The ones?
Yeah, couldn't be any luckier.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. So since your roots go back pretty far here in Dallas, I want to ask you, how has the city changed from when you were young until now? What kind of changes have you seen in this community?
Well, it was a lot smaller then, of course, and you knew most of the Jewish people, all the time. You came in contact with them. And now, of course, it has a much, much larger Jewish population. And like I say, of course, we have new friends, but our old friends from years ago, we're still friends with them, and it's really nice. And as far as the Jewish situation, there's many, many more Jewish people here than there used to be. I mean, it couldn't be any more different than that. And I really love Dallas. I've grown here and lived here my whole life, and I've really enjoyed living here, and it's worked out well for us.
If somebody decided to move here or was thinking about moving here, what would be the positive aspects that you would tell them about coming to Dallas?
Well, I believe if they're Jewish people, there's congregations now of all different types if you want to be affiliated. If not, there's all sorts of Jewish organizations that are here that you can be of interest in. I think it's just a growing city. I think the opportunities are here, and I believe it's a great place to be.
What waves of businesses have you seen here through the years, where people come in droves and then other businesses reopen and things like that? What kind of business opportunities do you see?
Well, I used to have, there were a lot of business opportunities in retail back then, and wholesale. But in today's world, of course, it's much changed. There are many, many opportunities in the technical field and in development and many, many things like that that are really, this is a place that you can really be at home and have a nice life here.
What organizations at this point in your life are you strongly considering, or do you support?
Well, I go to Sheriff Israel. We've been members there, of course, my whole life. and we support their things. We volunteer Jewish Family Service. We are interested in the Historical Society, and I'm interested in all the members of and try to take in their cultural things like the American Jewish Committee, Anti-Defamation League, and ones like that.
Okay.
Also a member of Rotary, which is has volunteer opportunities, which worked out well.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you something. You have to think about this long and hard. Now,
Okay.
who do you think, if anybody, was your role model?
Well, my role model was my well, it'd be two. My mother and father. My father in the business world, and my mother in the volunteer world, and she they kept the family was together. We are close with family that lives here or wherever they live. It's very important to us to a family, and that's exactly what they taught me.
Tell me about your family today. Who is still here and around?
Well, I have my children are here, which is the best, and grandchildren. My cousin, I have cousins. I have one aunt that's still with us, and but I have numerous cousins that we see and talk to and here in town, and have a great relationship with them.
That's wonderful. Okay, so what do you think you are the most proud of in your life?
Well, of course, my family, my children, and my wife and Susan. It's just great. That's what I'm most proud of.
Okay, that's wonderful. Is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't covered?
Not really. It's just I'm open to any questions about old times here in Dallas. There's not a lot of people around that has lived their whole life here and knows how things were, back in the 50s and things like that, and love to think of them and what had a great childhood, and couldn't have been a better adulthood, and things are, and that's about it. But
let me ask you about, you said your father was very close to the rabbi at Agudas Achim.
yeah.
But you didn't live anywhere near there. So was it
No.
difficult to get around?
Well, we all our family lived in South Dallas. The rest of them, except my grandparents, my father's parents, and we would come down. For most things, as far as Hebrew school and everything was actually at Shereth Israel. My father at one time was very interested in a little more orthodox. They kept kosher, and they're more interested in more orthodox things. But when I was a young boy, we really were at Shereth Israel. And especially when they moved, out here, our house, we could walk there. It was right. It was a block and a half away. So
Well, did
Sheriff
your father
Israel,
connect?
huh?
Did he connect with another rabbi when Agudas Achim actually closed?
No, not anyone besides the ones at Sheriff Israel.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else that you want to add? Feel free. I'm finished with my question, my particular
Oh,
question.
okay.
Okay.
Like I said, I could remember a memory about a good assignment, which I vaguely remember as a child going to our service there, and I remember the rabbi gave his speech in Yiddish, and I thought to myself then, I don't know if this is going to last, and sure enough, it didn't. So, but it was.
How was do you remember your bar mitzvah and what was that like?
Oh, very much so. Uh, I told the story when I was on that panel. I was the last bar mitzvah in the old shul, and it was my bar mitzvah was in an ice storm, and we wondered, people would come from. By that time, most of the Jews had already moved to North Dallas, and but they did. I was very lucky. Rabbi Silverman was here, and it just so happened that Rabbi Silverman's father, who is a world-renowned rabbi that wrote the prayer books that the conservative movement used for years, happened to be here, and he, gave a speech and everything at my bar mitzvah. And it was the first large bar mitzvah that Zella Sobel catered. So, and talking to Marilyn Paylett, she brought up that, it was an ice storm and it was an event. It was, I remember it well.
And they came to see you. That's great.
Absolutely. Well, they
You made history.
came because of my family, my parents and grandparents.
Had they already laid the stones or the
Yeah.
foundation for the
Oh
new
yeah.
building?
Oh yeah. It was built, or because the guys, my friends, after then, their bar mitzvahs were at Sheriff Israel. It was done, nearly done.
So what was it like then to have a brand new synagogue, basically? What was
Oh,
that
it was
feeling like?
nice. Well, they had we the other one, and we also had classes. So at the Jewish Community Center was real close to the old Sheriff Israel, and I remember we were sitting in class, and Herman Abrams was our teacher, and the ceiling fell down. It was getting pretty rough down there.
Oh my God. I hope nobody was hurt.
No, no one was hurt, but it was a remembering moment there, and it was very nice. Of course, they had it. It was so much different than down there. In fact, other people will remember too. Sheriff Israel had, because they had not room in the old shul, they started having the high holiday services at the Forest Theater on Forest Avenue. And if you see some old timers or whatever, they remember going there. We had it in a picture show. So,
What was it like when the new JCC opened and everything moved there? You remember?
It was nice. I remember going there and playing. We played baseball from AZA and different things from AZA. It was a place that was much more convenient. We could just drive. You didn't have to go to South Dallas, and it was a lot more convenient, fun, nice, and place to go.
So basically, that time of your life was when everything moved up to North Dallas.
Yes.
Mm.
When I was in the first grades of elementary school at Preston Hollow, there were I had no, except for Sunday school, I had no Jewish friends in the neighborhood. That was before people moved from South Dallas. And so all my friends were not Jewish, as many as they were. There was a lot of empty land up there then, and but they developed it, very fast.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And
it's been a pleasure talking to you. This is great. Anytime anyone if want to go over old times in Dallas, I'm ready to go.
Okay. It's pretty unique because there are very few people, I think, that have a history go back as far as yours, as far as being Dallasites. So
that is correct.
Yeah. So we thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a
Okay,
wonderful day, and I will talk to Susan soon.
You bet. She's.
Okay.
I'm going to switch places with her here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty.